Here we notice the checkerboard. And on her belt you see the Celtic sun cross. Because as we said, the Tuesday Well cult, remember, the process cult is very much into Druidic, pseudo-Druidism of course, but Druidic nevertheless. Here's Masonic G. Here it is again. Happy or depressed, don't leave home without your checkered shirt. We showed some James Bond symbolism earlier on. Here we have the sort of mannequin, dazed, hypnotized look. Or I've had a long weekend look. But these depressive looks can also be, you know, from something else. The jadedness, what's happening inside that person, must also be taken into account by being involved in all of this. Various colors, suggestive symbolism, all over the modern media today. Here it is in the genetics field. Craig Venter. Absolutely Masonic. Here it is again. I mean, this is a no-brainer. There on the right, you have, I think it's the first degree initiation of the rolled-up trouser leg malarkey, and that actually rope around your neck is the origin of why men wear the tie, by the way. That is the tie that hangs you, or ties you to the commercial world that's controlled by Freemasonry. And then when they write you off the square, say you've just become sort of recalcitrant, and you go in front of the judge. In English courts, I don't know if you have it here, but in England, when you were going to serve the death penalty, the judge would pull out a black square. It was actually known as the black cap, the cap of death, and that would be placed meticulously on the judge's head. A black square, Masonic square, because now, yeah, they're telling the victim that he doesn't know. You've been under our law, maritime law, but now since you've become renegade, we're wiping you off the slate. You're no longer a debtor. We're removing you from the board game, our board game, in which you are on the debt of the country. Because it's debtor and creditor in court, nothing to do with defendant plaintiff like we think. And even the rituals of erasing you are very Masonic. It's interesting that. Tarot cards, we saw earlier on with the John Travolta pose. Somebody knows something and it isn't John Travolta. Here we have the same hanged man idea. And we saw last time we met Madonna, positioned as the Queen of Swords, you see. And generically, the Mercedes symbol, by the way, is an old alchemical symbol about squaring the circle. You have to look at the image three-dimensionally. We don't have time to do that, but it's actually a cube inside a circle, inside a sphere, is what it is. And originally it used to be three interlocking circles. Before Mercedes chose that symbol, it used to be the famous three interlocking circles known as the Triskelion or the... Here we find that all over America in banks and real estate companies, you find the checkerboard. I mean, what's that? Is this a checkerboard? I mean, how Masonic can you get? But again, once you put all these pieces together, none of this is in the remotest bit confusing anymore, you see. It's just after you've done your homework and you've got familiar, this is like so familiar. But the sinister thing is it turns up, these very similars in colors turn up in the world of children. There it is for Cartoon Network, one of the biggest networks, television networks for children's cartoons. And I mean, not only are these cartoons that they show the kids so sick, but they're absolutely loaded with supernatural and Luciferian symbolism. Album covers, bands like this. What's this all about? You won't ever crack it until you understand the power of this Dionysian, specifically the Dionysian cult that works with androgyny and works with sacrifice. Here's a band that I've always found very sinister, as I said, the Lords of the New Church. The Doorway to the Light. This is a well-known Masonic idea. And the death that you have to go through, the symbolic death that you have to go through, crossing the floor. And the black and white squares just representing in one level ignorance and knowledge. Here's Bridget West again. Masonic symbolism. Here's a band, their poster is Masonic. And the chant, where does that word come from? Who chants? You go up to Untermeyer Park, you'll see who chants. Here's Blondie. Again, the tie-in. Remember I said that a lot of these blonde women are really a simulacra, a stand-in for the occult priestess. It's kind of curious symbolism. I've always thought that Debbie Harry, she's not a natural blonde, by the way, so I always found it kind of interesting that she was so physically similar. And if ever, I don't know, you probably all have your favorites and everything, but in my mind, I couldn't even imagine a more projective person, somebody who takes the projections, you know, when you study projection, to me, Debbie Harry, her whole persona is so yin. I mean, this is perfect occult ritual type of person who just, you can just look at for hours without you even knowing it. It's partly erotic, it's partly idol worship, it's fascination, it's all of this allure, you know, this whole cult of mystique, which is partly female or feminine, but infinitely more. And in her, in my eyes, you can really see this ritualistic element at work. Of course, other people will say, no, it's this person or that person has it more. Elvis or even James Dean. It's all a different kaleidoscopic attitude. But I sense the ritualistic element in all of this because there's such a tremendous resemblance between Debbie Harry and the Tuesday Weld. And of course, that priestess then will be positioned in different ways. You know, the punk movement, the countercultural movement, they're everywhere. They're all one person, one priestess, one archetype, but several different stereotypes. You find it whistleblown in the movie with Janet Leigh and Lawrence Harvey, Manchurian Candidate. They're literally telling you there that the symbolism involving deep mind control and how that is done via the female, the blonde female, or how the blonde female plays a part in that process. There's many whistleblowing movies that directly bear on this. None better than this film, which I hope everyone will get, The Green, Woman in Green. I've still yet to find a movie that whistleblows what we're talking about better than this. It's a beautifully made movie as well, as was many in this series. Some were made during the war years, so they're a little bit propaganda-based, but those are just mostly the tacked-on endings. If you watch the movies with an occult eye, you'll be absolutely amazed. The only thing is that I've recommended these series of movies before to people and they don't see it because the symbolism that's in this series is so subtle and so brilliant and so elaborate, it still has yet to be cracked. I hope in the future I'll be able to do a deeper work just on this series, including this phenomenal movie, but just get this if you can.
He killed Holmes! He killed Philip!
What?
You? But I saw him shoot you a second ago.
Not me, my dear fellow. Merely the bust of Julius Caesar. Incidentally, you may have noticed that all through the ages, prominent men have prominent noses. Not you.
Corporal Williams, Middlesex Regiment. Discharged from the army as physically unfit. People seem in order.
Now, Corporal Williams, you've seen service in the Far East, haven't you?
The East.
I thought so. Look at his complexion, Watson. Yellow as saffron. He's been taking attobrine. Cure for malaria. Sniper, aren't you?
Sniper.
Why did you try to kill me?
I had to kill him. I had to. Oh, snap out of it.
Stop it, Watson.
He's shamming.
No, he isn't. Who told you to kill me?
She told me.
She told you?
She told me I couldn't miss. Well, luckily you did miss, you murderer.
Isn't a murderer, Watson. Listen, Corporal Williams. She told you you had to do it, didn't she?
I had to do it.
I've got it, Watson, I've got it.
Got what?
The method used in the finger murders.
Well, what is it?
Hypnotism, my dear fellow. Hypnotism. And it wasn't against his nature. That's the devilish part of it. They picked a man for their purpose whose job was sniping.
Who are they?
Professor Moriarty and his finger murderers. Williams spoke of a woman. I think you'll find that she asked him home tonight for a drink. Nice quiet rooms, soft lights, music.
You got it all pat, Mr. Holmes. What's the lady look like?
Up 30, nice figure, blonde, lustrous eyes.
Here we have again the 666 in the eye. Again, the doves. The columns, right? The mannequin, the one eye closed, the one eye open. The gun, she's holding her hands like not only the religious symbol that is used in Masonry and also in the Vatican as allegiance, but it's also Baphomet, the occult icon of the Templars. I mean, what have they left out? Anything?